It's time for business, and Emmanuel Boakye has joined me in the studio. Today is not Sandra, it's Emmanuel. All right, so what's coming up in business?
Well, in our top story tonight, the former Nigerian Central Bank governor is actually praising government's economic strategies for doing magic as compared to that of Nigeria. It's amazing when your
in
own
this
people
case, they're
don't
comparing. So they're comparing Ghana to Nigeria.
Yes, using some elements, some standards, benchmarks.
Okay, we should be comparing ourselves too.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for joining me on Business Tonight. Former Central Bank Governor of Nigeria, Professor Charles Soludo, is urging government to intensify policies that have seen expansion in economic growth for the last few years. Speaking at the first KB Emisa Arthur Economic Forum under the theme Making Sense of Economics, the economist believes government has done well looking at the available economic data and fiscal growth of the country. Professor Soludo said the country's single-digit inflation and gross domestic product as compared with other countries on the African continent is an indication that government is on course and must pursue its strategies.
The first KB Emisa Arthur Forum is a collaboration by the late Vice President's family and the Economics Department of the University of Ghana. It is to honor his legacies and his personality, which has been described as a modest and truthful economist. Addressing the lecture, former Central Bank Governor for Nigeria, Professor Soludo, said the country's single-digit inflation and gross domestic production, as compared with other countries on the African continent, is an indication that government is on course and must intensify its strategies.
Developed countries in the world. So there is something to often, have some cheer. I present comparative figures for Nigeria, not just because it is your West African neighbor, but as Africa's largest economy and whose structure is similar to yours, largely dependent on primary commodities. Whatever Ghana is doing to produce these results, including its macroeconomic stabilization, especially fiscal consolidation and structural policies, it must intensify, albeit with continuing innovations and reforms. Comparisons are not to make you complacent or depressed, but to put your efforts in context.
Professor Soludo also advised Ghanaian politicians not to learn the bad lessons of Nigeria in managing their natural resources. The family of the late Emisa Arthur also used the occasion to announce a PhD award in economics, as well as a $1 million seed capital endowment fund for economic research in the economics department of the university. Here's the son of the late Vice President, Kwesi Nyan Emisa Arthur.
We would like to send this to a deserving high-caliber students. This award has already been fully funded by the family in perpetuity. So we've invested a certain amount of money, and the proceeds of that money would go to fund the award every year with a proceed matching inflation, so that till perpetuity that award will be existing. I am also pleased to announce that the family is at an advanced stage of exploration with the Department of Economics for the potential to also perpetually endow a chair of economics at the University of Ghana.
The forum was attended by a section of academia and some officials of both past and present government. Ebenezer Sabute's report for Joy Business.
Now, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has indicated that luxury tax on vehicles would be reviewed in the mid-year budget review presentation. George Rafe was at a media engagement organized by the minister and has more in this report.
Government last year introduced a tax for more than 3-litre engine capacities. The move was then part of efforts to help deal with revenue shortfalls that have hit the economy. The Vehicle and Asset Dealers Association recently noted that they would hit the streets on July 9 if their concerns are not addressed. This is because the tax is seriously affecting their businesses. But speaking at a media engagement a while ago, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta said the review was based on some concerns raised by stakeholders.
Anytime you bring something new, you need to be able to make the assessment that you are talking about. You have all sorts of variables levels playing. We've just also reduced vehicle importation taxes by 30%. So, you know, that immediately changes whether the cars are coming in because of 1,000 cedis that an individual will pay, or whether the 30% reduction. But, you know, whatever it is, it's been 9 months. We want to assess its impact, we want to assess the name, we want to see whether the capacity is an issue, we want to see whether the pricing is an issue. So all of that will come to play. I mean, we have changed a few things of our taxation since we came, so this will not be new. I think it's a constant dynamic thing. We will listen, and then we'll look at the analysis, and then we'll make a decision. You know, but in terms of the fundamental need for this tax, that is unequivocal.
The minister also noted that they will be hard on compliance going forward to help them meet the target for the rest of the year.
When we came in, we abolished a slew of 17 odd nuisance taxes. We reduced electricity. So, I mean, in terms of the totality, you know, as to what this government is doing to ease the pain of living conditions, it's clear. So when people, you know, sort of isolate, you know, the specific things that affect them as opposed to what broadly we have done in the country, that is a challenge of where the media should put it up front. You know, is this happening? Then I have the issue of, therefore, compliance to be able to raise revenue. And I think that's going to be something that's really important. We are now currently doing about 12.6% revenue to GDP. I think peer group countries are doing about 19%. So you can see the gap that we have to do in terms of expanding the tax net. That's also another area that we have to take care of. So that, and then a commitment for people to pay their taxes. So I think compliance is going to be a really big thing going forward.
It is not clear for now how the review will be done, but it's likely that the tax could be scrapped or reviewed the percentage level on each vehicle, subject to Cabinet's approval for the mid-year review before July 31 this year.
Meanwhile, the economist Professor Peter Boakye has described government's decision to review the tax on luxury vehicles as prudent.
Well, if we're going to review, the review should ensure that we seal the loopholes. For instance, there are certain vehicles that are classified as luxury vehicles, which they are not actually. Some saloon cars with high capacity are classified as luxury vehicles, whereas if you pick some of the four-wheel drives we find in the system, a Prado could have a 2.7 capacity engine. Is that a luxury tax? Fully loaded vehicle, is that a luxury? So I think we need to critically overhaul the system and make sure that if we are taxing people for luxury vehicles, they are really luxury vehicles. There are even buses, school buses, for instance. School buses, once the registration number is private, pay luxury tax. You know, I mean, is that a sure way to raise revenue? And I think that's some of the areas we need to try and seal and ensure that luxury tax is actually taxing the luxury vehicle.
We're now bringing our summaries tonight. 24 banks currently operating in the country registered an after-tax profit of 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. Details coming up.
A report by the Finance Committee of Parliament has revealed that state-owned entities have defaulted in paying some 1.32 billion Ghana cedis owed the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, an act which the committee warns would negatively impact on the company's operations.
That's it in business for now. I'll be back with more business news after 8 p.m.